A family was still living there, though the rancher had just bought the ghost town for $100. Rancher Jack Collins never expected to buy a ghost town. Most people in West Texas thought of him as a man who chased strange ideas, but Jack liked taking chances. When he saw the advertisement in the dusty pages of the local newspaper, "Ghost town for sale, $100. Own it today," he laughed. $100 for an entire town? It seemed too good to be true. He thought about the land, the old buildings, and the wide open spaces. He imagined turning the town into a cattle outpost. It would be perfect. The ride to the town took most of the day. Jack's horse, a strong brown mare named Dusty, trotted steadily under the bright sun. The sky was wide, stretching far into the horizon, and the wind carried the smell of dry earth and wild sage. Jack could see the old structures from a distance, a few boarded-up houses, a crumbling saloon, and a church that looked like it had been abandoned for decades. The town lay silent, almost as if it were holding its breath. "Looks empty enough," Jack said to himself, tipping his hat against the sun. "I can make something out of this." As he rode down the main street, the boards creaked under his horse's hooves. Windows were shattered, doors hung on broken hinges, and dust danced in the sunlight streaming through the gaps in the buildings. It was eerie. Silence pressed on him, and for a moment he felt like an intruder. Most ghost towns were like this, though. People left for better opportunities, and nature slowly claimed the rest. Jack dismounted near what used to be the general store. Its roof sagged, and the paint had long faded. He ran a hand over the dusty counter, imagining how busy it must have been once. A customer here, a gossip there, people buying sugar and coffee and sharing stories about the cattle drives. Now it was all quiet. Too quiet. That's when he heard it. A soft, cheerful laugh. Jack froze. Dusty whinnied, backing away slightly. He looked around, eyes narrowing. The sound had come from behind the store near a small chimney. Smoke rose into the sky, curling lazily. "Who's there?" Jack called. His voice sounded strange against the empty buildings. A man appeared first, walking carefully toward him. He looked rugged, like a rancher himself, but older, with lines carved by sun and wind. A woman followed, carrying a small child in her arms. Behind them, another child peeked from behind her skirts. Jack stepped back, confused. "I thought this town was empty." The man's eyes were cautious but not hostile. "We live here," he said simply. "We always have." Jack rubbed his chin. "You live here? But I just bought this town." "The papers said it was abandoned." The man smiled faintly, shaking his head. "Papers don't always tell the truth. This town, it's been our home for generations." Jack felt a rush of surprise mixed with irritation. "Generations? There's no one else here." "Why didn't anyone tell me?" The woman stepped forward. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent. "Because we didn't want to. We keep to ourselves. The town is our secret. It has always been that way." Jack studied them carefully. The father, Daniel, stood firmly, protective. The woman, Clara, looked at him with quiet confidence, and the children, little Anna and Tom, clung to each other, curious but wary. Their clothes were old-fashioned, patched in places, but clean. They didn't seem poor. They seemed prepared, self-sufficient. Jack scratched his head. "Well, I guess this complicates things." Clara crossed her arms. "You bought the town, but we didn't plan to leave. We don't want trouble, mister?" "Collins." "Jack Collins." Daniel nodded. "Then it's settled. We stay. You stay. No one needs to get hurt." Jack laughed, a bit nervously. "Stay? I just thought, I thought I could use the land for my cattle." "You can," Daniel said. "Just don't get in our way. The town has its own ways." Jack tilted his head, intrigued. "Its own ways?" Clara glanced at the father, then back at Jack. "There are things about this town that aren't obvious, things that outsiders don't understand. You'll see soon enough." Jack frowned but shrugged. He wasn't a man to back down from a challenge. "All right, then. Guess I'm staying a night or two. Might as well meet the neighbors." Daniel led Jack to their home, a small house at the edge of town. It was old but sturdy, made of thick wooden beams and stone foundations. Smoke from the chimney smelled faintly of herbs and firewood. Jack felt a strange comfort inside. Despite the dusty streets and abandoned buildings, this house felt alive. Over a simple dinner of beans and bread, Jack listened as the family explained their lives. They had been living quietly, hunting and farming small plots of land and repairing old structures over the years, but they also spoke of hidden tunnels beneath the town, secret wells, and supplies left from decades past. "Why all the secrets?" Jack asked. Daniel looked at him steadily. Because some things are dangerous, some people would take what they shouldn't. We protect the town, and the town protects us. Jack nodded slowly. He could see the pride in their eyes. He had bought a ghost town expecting dust and silence. Instead, he found a living family with stories and secrets that made the place feel magical and mysterious. As night fell, Jack stepped outside to look at the town. The moon cast a silver glow over the buildings, turning shadows into strange shapes. Dusty nickered softly as she grazed nearby. In the distance, Jack saw faint lights flickering near the edge of town. He frowned. Was it fireflies or something else? He felt a chill run down his spine. This town was more than he had expected. It wasn't just old buildings and forgotten streets. It had life, it had secrets, and somehow Jack knew his adventure had only just begun. The sound of children laughing faintly in the distance reminded him that this was not just a place to own, but a place to understand. Tomorrow, he would explore more, ask more questions, and maybe learn what made this ghost town so different from the others. For now, he sat on the porch of his temporary camp, looking at the stars, thinking of the deals he would have to make and the mysteries he might uncover. Jack Collins, cowboy and adventurer, had bought a ghost town for $100, but this ghost town had bought something from him, too. Curiosity, caution, and a sense of wonder he hadn't felt in years. And deep inside, he knew one thing for sure. This was going to be one of the strangest, most unforgettable summers of his life. Jack Collins woke to the smell of fresh bread baking in the small kitchen. The morning sun spilled through the cracks in the wooden walls, painting golden lines on the dusty floor. Dusty, his brown mare, nickered outside, her ears flicking at every sound. Jack stretched, feeling the stiffness in his muscles from yesterday's long ride. He rubbed his face and thought about the family he had met the night before. Daniel and Clara, along with little Anna and Tom, were already up. The children ran around laughing, their small boots clapping against the wooden floor. Jack couldn't help but smile. He had expected silence and dust, but instead he had found life. Real life, in a place everyone else had abandoned. Over breakfast, Daniel spoke quietly, as if telling a secret. You saw the town yesterday, Jack, but you didn't see everything. There are places in this town no outsider has ever walked. Jack leaned forward. Places? What do you mean? Clara poured tea and looked at him steadily. Under the streets. Behind walls. There are tunnels, rooms, and hidden storages. Our family has always protected them. The town is not as empty as people think, and some of the things here are not normal. Jack raised an eyebrow. Not normal? Daniel nodded. Long ago, before we were born, people experimented with this town. Machines, lights, energy, things that could change a person's life or end it. Most of it was abandoned, but we kept some of it hidden, safe. Jack's curiosity flared. He had seen strange devices in the buildings yesterday, odd metallic structures with wires and glowing symbols, but he thought they were junk. Now he realized there was more to them than met the eye. Show me, Jack said. I want to see it all. Clara shook her head gently. Not today. You're new here. You need time to understand. This town has rules, Jack. It protects itself, and it protects us. If you're not careful, it can be dangerous. Jack nodded slowly. He liked the challenge. The idea of a town that could protect itself sounded almost like a storybook, but he had seen enough in his life to know strange things could be real. Later in the morning, Daniel decided to show Jack part of the tunnels beneath the town. They walked down a narrow path behind the general store, a hidden trapdoor covered by a rug. The children ran ahead, giggling, as Jack followed, his boots clacking softly on the wooden boards. The trapdoor led to a staircase, descending into darkness. Jack lit his lantern, the warm glow illuminating old stone walls. The air smelled damp with a faint metallic tang. The tunnel widened, revealing a small room filled with old equipment. Jack's eyes widened. Machines with wires, levers, and small glowing panels hummed quietly. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. He reached out to touch one of the panels, and the light pulsed under his fingers. Careful, Daniel said. Some of these machines still work. They are old but powerful. They can store energy, water, even information from long ago. The people who built this town wanted it to survive, even if they left. Jack nodded, fascinated. So this town, it was more than a place to live. It was a project. A secret experiment? Yes, Clara said, appearing behind him. And because of that, we stay. We protect it. Outsiders cannot be trusted with this knowledge. You are new, but you have respect for the town. That is why we are showing you. Jack felt a thrill. He had expected ordinary buildings and empty streets. Instead, he had found a hidden world beneath the town. Machines, tunnels, secret storage rooms. This was like finding treasure, but the treasure was alive. As they explored, Jack noticed small details. A water purifier still running, small solar panels hidden under rubble, and old crates labeled with dates from decades ago. It was clear the family had maintained these systems carefully. They were survivors in the truest sense. "Why did you stay here all these years?" Jack asked. Most people would have left for bigger towns or cities. Daniel smiled faintly. "Because this town belongs to us. We know its secrets, and secrets protect us. Outside, the world is dangerous. Here, we survive. We live our way." He had been in towns all his life, but none had a sense of belonging like this. It wasn't just about land or buildings. It was about history, knowledge, and life itself. They spent the rest of the morning walking through the tunnels, exploring hidden rooms, and finding old journals left by people who once worked here. Jack read aloud entries about experiments with solar energy, strange devices that could store light, and even notes about the wildlife in the area adapting to unusual changes in the environment. Anna and Tom laughed as they ran ahead, pointing to glowing markings on the walls that looked like constellations. Jack realized that the town had become almost magical over the years, not in a fantasy way, but in a way that made every corner hold a secret. By noon, they returned to the surface. The sun was high, casting harsh shadows on the streets. Jack mounted Dusty and looked around. The town seemed quiet, almost normal again. But he knew better. Beneath the surface, hidden from any passerby, the town thrived in silence. "Do people ever come looking for this place?" Jack asked. Daniel shook his head. "A few tried, long ago. Most left after they realized it wasn't what it seemed. But some still search. We have to be careful." Jack nodded, feeling a sense of responsibility he hadn't expected. He had bought the town for $100, but now he realized it was worth far more than money. It was alive, and it needed guardians. As the day passed, Jack helped the family repair a small roof over the tunnel entrance. Dust fell on his hat and sweat ran down his face, but he felt alive. He realized that the town needed care, not exploitation. The family had kept it safe, and now he was learning how to be part of it. By evening, Jack was exhausted but excited. Clara prepared a simple dinner while Daniel and Jack repaired an old windmill near the edge of town. The windmill creaked, but it was functional. Jack marveled at the ingenuity of the town's builders. Every detail seemed purposeful, every machine clever. After dinner, the family gathered on the porch watching the sunset. The sky turned orange and purple, casting long shadows over the dusty streets. Jack looked at the town, thinking of what he had learned today. "This town has secrets," he said quietly. "And I think I am starting to understand them." Daniel nodded. "You have respect for it." "That is important. Some people would just take what they could. They would destroy what they don't understand. But you see value beyond money." "I didn't expect this. I thought I was buying a ghost town. But it turns out the town bought me." Clara laughed softly. "Be careful. Ghost towns have a way of surprising even the bravest people." Jack chuckled, feeling a thrill of excitement. He had expected dust and silence, but instead he found life, mystery, and a strange hidden world that no one else knew about. He realized that the family was not just surviving, they were thriving in a place that seemed dead to the rest of the world. That night, Jack lay on the porch, looking at the stars. He could hear the soft sounds of the family settling in for the night, the wind whispering through broken windows and rusted roofs. Somewhere deep underground, the town hummed with quiet energy, keeping its secrets safe. Jack knew that this was only the beginning. Tomorrow, he would explore more, learn more, and perhaps discover why the town had been abandoned by everyone else. He felt a strange connection to the place now, a sense that he belonged, not just as an owner, but as a part of the town's story. As he drifted off to sleep, he thought about the family, the tunnels, and the strange devices hidden beneath the streets. One thing was clear. This ghost town was alive, and it had more to show him than he could imagine. Jack Collins, cowboy and adventurer, had bought a ghost town for $100, but the town itself had plans, and he was only beginning to see them. The next morning, Jack awoke to an unusual quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause, as if the town itself was holding its breath. He rubbed his eyes and looked at the horizon. Something felt different. Yesterday had been full of discovery and curiosity. Today there was tension in the air. Jack mounted Dusty and rode toward the edge of town to check the perimeter. The dusty streets were empty and the sun beat down hard, but as he rounded the corner near the old saloon, he saw movement in the distance. 4 figures approached on horseback, their silhouettes sharp against the bright morning sky. Jack's heart quickened. Outsiders, and judging by the way they rode, they were not friendly. He galloped back toward the house where Daniel, Clara, Anna, and Tom were gathering breakfast. "We've got company," he said. "Some men are riding toward the town. They don't look like neighbors." Daniel's face tightened. "I feared this day might come," he said quietly. "Some people know the town is more than it seems. They always search for what they shouldn't find." Clara placed a hand on Jack's arm. "We have to be careful. These men, they won't leave easily." The family quickly gathered what they might need: tools, old rifles, and hidden supplies. Jack felt the thrill of tension mixed with fear. He had faced danger before on the range, but this was different. These men were not just after cattle or money, they were after the town itself and the secrets it held. By mid-morning, the riders reached the outskirts of the town. Jack and Daniel watched from the roof of the general store, hidden behind a weathered wooden wall. The strangers dismounted, eyeing the buildings with curiosity and greed. One of them, clearly the leader, called out, "We know someone lives here. Step forward or we search the town ourselves." Jack's jaw tightened. "Not on my watch," he muttered. Daniel turned to him. "Remember what I told you? The town has its ways. We know how to use them. Follow our lead and you'll be safe." Jack nodded. "Let's do it." The family led Jack to a hidden passage behind the old church. The tunnel was narrow, with stone walls and faint glowing inscriptions. Jack realized the town's secrets were not just for hiding. They were for defense. "They can't follow us here," Daniel whispered.
"The entrances are hidden."
"And some of the old devices, they can slow them down." Jack followed, excitement and tension mixing in his chest. He had faced bandits before, but he had never been part of a defense like this. The town was alive, and now he would help it protect itself. As they reached a larger room underground, Clara pointed to several strange machines. "These still work. They can distract, block, or even trap intruders. Use them carefully." Jack ran his hands over a panel. A low hum began, and lights flickered along the walls. He felt the energy beneath him, almost like the town itself was responding to the danger. Above ground, the mercenaries began searching. They knocked on doors, lifted boards, and shouted, but the town seemed empty. Dust swirled in the sunlight, hiding the family and Jack from view. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed from the roof of the saloon. Jack had triggered a simple alarm system. Old tin plates that rang when stepped on. The sound startled the intruders. 2 of them rushed toward the noise, but as they stepped into the alley, Jack activated another device. A set of panels released a cloud of fine dust that made it hard to see, forcing the men to stumble blindly. "Quickly!" Daniel called. "Use the tunnels. Lead them where we want." Jack, Daniel, and the family moved swiftly through the underground passage, emerging behind the saloon. They had set up small traps along the way, boards that tilted when stepped on, old carts that could roll down a slight incline and block a path. Each trap slowed the mercenaries, buying time for the defenders. One of the men finally discovered the trap door behind the general store. He shouted to his companions, "They're down here somewhere. Watch the tunnels." Jack smiled grimly. "That's when the fun begins," he whispered to Daniel. From underground, they triggered another device. A soft vibration ran through the floorboards above, shaking dust and small debris down onto the men. The leader cursed loudly, his voice echoing through the empty streets. Meanwhile, Anna and Tom helped by running small diversionary alarms. They pulled ropes attached to cans and old tin objects, creating noise that made the intruders think the family was everywhere at once. Jack watched the children and smiled. Even in danger, they were brave and clever. As the day passed, the mercenaries grew frustrated. They could not find the family, and the town's hidden defenses kept them off balance. Jack realized that the family had survived in this town for so long not just because of secrecy, but because they had learned to use every inch of it to their advantage. Finally, the mercenaries tried to set fire to the old barn, hoping to force the family out. But Daniel had anticipated this. He led Jack to a hidden water system connected to underground pipes. With a few simple valves, water sprayed across the barn, extinguishing the small flames before they could spread. The leader of the mercenaries shouted in anger, "This is ridiculous. They have traps everywhere." Jack stepped from the shadows, rifle in hand. "And they're smart enough to know how to use them," he said. The family emerged cautiously behind him. Clara held Anna's hand, and Daniel stood beside Jack, eyes steady. The mercenaries looked at them, unsure how to proceed. They had expected an easy town to conquer, not a family who knew every secret passage and device. Jack raised his hand. "Leave now, and no one gets hurt. But try to come back, and this town will defend itself again. And next time, you won't be so lucky." For a moment there was silence. The mercenaries exchanged glances, muttered curses, and finally mounted their horses. They rode off, anger and frustration in their every movement. Jack watched until they disappeared over the horizon. As the dust settled, Jack let out a long breath. That was intense, he admitted. Daniel clapped him on the shoulder. "You did well. It trusts you, even after one day." Clara smiled. "You helped protect it. That counts more than money." Jack looked around at the town, the sun casting long shadows, the buildings scarred by the brief chaos, and the family standing together. He realized that this place was more than just land he had bought. It was alive, and it had chosen him as part of its story. Anna and Tom ran to him, laughing despite the danger they had faced. "You were amazing," Anna said, her eyes shining. Jack laughed. "You two were braver than I was." The family gathered for dinner that evening, tired but triumphant. The town was quiet once more, but Jack knew it would never truly be still again. Something had changed. He had faced danger, helped defend a living secret, and learned that owning a town was nothing compared to protecting it. As night fell, Jack stepped outside alone. The stars were bright, scattered across the black sky like diamonds. He thought about the day's events, the traps, the tunnels, the strange devices, and felt a thrill of respect for the town. It was clever, patient, and alive in ways he had never imagined. "This town has its ways," he murmured, "and I am part of them now." From the shadows he saw faint glimmers of the hidden tunnels below, as if the town itself was watching, approving. Jack knew that the family's trust was earned, but the town's secret might be bigger than anyone had guessed. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, he was certain. The mercenaries might return. Others could come, drawn by the rumors of hidden devices and long-lost treasures. But Jack felt ready. He had learned the town's ways, even a little, and he had discovered the courage and cleverness of the family who called it home. For the first time, Jack felt that buying a ghost town was not just about owning land. It was about being part of a living story, one that demanded respect, intelligence, and bravery, and he was ready to face it all. As he lay down that night, the wind whispered through the old buildings, soft and strange. Jack listened, feeling the pulse of the town beneath his feet, alive and vigilant. He smiled. Ghost towns, he realized, were never really empty. They were waiting for someone who could see, understand, and protect them. Jack Collins, cowboy and adventurer, had bought a ghost town for $100, and now he knew that the town would never let him forget that it was alive, mysterious, and full of secrets. The sun rose slowly over the ghost town, painting the dusty streets in gold and orange. Jack Collins stood on the porch of the general store, looking at the quiet town that had already seen so much chaos. The events of yesterday, the mercenaries, the traps, the tunnels, still echoed in his mind. He knew the danger was not completely over. Those men could return, or others like them could come, drawn by rumors of the town's secrets. Jack turned to Daniel, who was tightening the straps on his boots. "We have to be ready," Jack said. "If they come back, they won't be so easy to scare off." Daniel nodded. "Agreed. But today we prepare more than just for defense. We need to strengthen the town, repair, hide, and protect, make it impossible for anyone to take it by force." Clara appeared behind them, holding Anna and Tom by the hand. "Jack," she said softly, "this town has survived because we respect it. We don't need to fight unnecessarily, but if someone threatens it again, we'll be ready." Jack nodded, feeling a sense of responsibility heavier than any ranch he had ever owned. This town was alive, and its people were brave. They had taught him that survival was more than strength. It was knowledge, preparation, and heart. The day began with repairs. Jack, Daniel, and the children worked together to reinforce old doors, hide entrances to tunnels, and strengthen weak roofs. Claire organized supplies, checking food, water, and tools. Even Dusty seemed to sense the purpose of the day, standing quietly nearby, ears flicking at every sound. Jack paused at the edge of town and looked at the horizon. The land stretched far and empty, but he knew danger could come from any direction. He decided to explore the outskirts, mapping paths and hills that could hide approaching riders. The town had given him trust, and he would repay it with vigilance. By mid-afternoon, the town was ready. Old devices hummed faintly in hidden rooms. Lights flickered in tunnels, and the streets were cleared for movement. The family gathered in the main square, a quiet sense of unity settling over them. Jack felt proud. He was no longer an outsider. He was part of the town's story, its defense, and its future. As the sun dipped lower, a distant cloud of dust appeared on the horizon. Jack squinted. The mercenaries were back, more of them this time, 6 men riding hard, shouting orders. Their greed and determination were clear. They expected to find an easy target. Jack moved quickly. "Everyone to your positions. Follow the plan. The town will help us." Daniel led the family into hidden tunnels. Jack mounted Dusty, riding along the perimeter to lure the mercenaries into the streets, where traps and surprises waited. The town itself seemed alive beneath his boots, as if it anticipated the danger. The mercenaries reached the main street and dismounted, confident and arrogant. "We know you're here," one of them shouted. "Come out, or we take the town by force." Jack grinned, his hand resting on Dusty's neck. "You're about to learn that this town isn't what it seems." From the shadows, Anna and Tom triggered small alarms. Boards clanged, dust clouds rose, and old tin plates rang across the streets. The mercenaries stumbled, unsure where the sounds were coming from. Jack used the confusion to lead them toward the old saloon where hidden carts waited. With a quick pull of a lever, carts rolled down a small incline, blocking their escape and trapping 2 of the men inside the alley, Clara standing atop the general store roof. Lit a small flare. The light caught the mercenaries' eyes, distracting them long enough for Daniel to activate an old water system. A spray of water hit the ground, causing mud to slick their boots and making their footing unstable. Jack and Daniel moved through the streets, coordinating the traps. Each mercenary that advanced was met with a clever obstacle, swinging boards, collapsing barrels, and bursts of dust. The family's knowledge of the town gave them a clear advantage. The intruders had numbers, but the defenders had intelligence, preparation, and the town itself on their side. The leader of the mercenaries cursed loudly. "Enough! Take 'em down!" Jack saw an opening. He rode Dusty forward, creating a distraction that led the leader into a narrow alley. There, another hidden device, a set of ropes attached to a heavy wooden gate, fell, blocking his path. Trapped and frustrated, the leader realized the town was unbeatable without careful planning. Finally, one by one, the mercenaries realized they could not conquer the town. The family's defenses, combined with Jack's quick thinking and courage, had outsmarted them. Humiliated and exhausted, they mounted their horses and fled, disappearing into the distance. Jack lowered his head, breathing heavily but smiling. The town was safe. The family emerged from the tunnels, cheering softly but carefully. Anna and Tom ran to Jack, hugging him tightly. "You were amazing," Tom said. "You helped save the town," Jack chuckled. "We all did it together. The town helped too." Daniel clapped Jack on the back. "You've earned your place here, not just as an owner, but as one of us." Clara smiled warmly. "And the town will thrive, with all of us protecting it." As evening fell, the family gathered in the square. Jack looked at the town with new eyes. The buildings, once silent and dusty, now felt alive with history and life. The tunnels, the machines, and the hidden rooms were more than tools. They were the heart of the town. Jack realized that owning a town was more than having a legal claim. It was about understanding it, respecting it, and protecting it. The family had taught him that. They had shown him courage, intelligence, and a deep connection to the land that no outsider could ever have. The next morning, Jack stood on the edge of town, looking at the horizon. He knew the mercenaries might return, but he also knew that this town, this family, and he, together, were unstoppable. He felt a sense of pride and purpose stronger than any he had felt on a ranch. Daniel approached, handing Jack a small notebook. "We've kept records of the town's history, the tunnels, and the devices. It's important that you know everything. The town trusts you now, but knowledge is the real power." Jack took the notebook and nodded. "I understand. This town isn't just land. It's alive, and I will protect it." Clara placed a hand on his shoulder. "And the town will protect you too. As long as we respect it and each other, it will thrive." Days turned into weeks. Jack helped repair buildings, restore old equipment, and ensure the town was safe. He learned the patterns of the tunnels, the power of the hidden machines, and the ways the town had survived decades of abandonment. The family taught him patience and wisdom, and Jack shared his strength and courage. Together they became a team, a living force defending a place the world had forgotten. One evening, as the sun set, Jack rode Dusty through the streets. The town was quiet, the air warm, and the buildings bathed in golden light. The children ran ahead, laughing, and Daniel and Clara worked on repairing a roof. Jack realized that the ghost town was no longer empty. It was alive, full of people, life, and purpose. He stopped near the general store and looked around. This town had been abandoned by the world, but it had not been abandoned by life. The family, the tunnels, the hidden devices, they all told a story of resilience and survival. Jack knew that as long as they protected it, the town would endure. The wind whispered through the streets, carrying dust and the faint scent of herbs and firewood. Jack smiled, feeling the pulse of the town beneath his boots. It was a town that had chosen its guardians carefully, and he was proud to be one of them. As night fell, Jack stood on the porch of his camp looking at the stars. The town lay quiet, safe, and full of promise. Tomorrow would bring more work, more discovery, and perhaps more challenges. But Jack knew that together they could face anything. This ghost town, once abandoned and forgotten, had found life again. And Jack Collins, cowboy and adventurer, had found more than land. He had found a family, a purpose, and a home. The town had survived, and now it thrived. The ghosts of the past had faded, replaced by laughter, courage, and the steady hum of hidden secrets. Jack knew that for generations to come, the town would continue its quiet life, protected by those who understood its heart. And for the first time, Jack felt a deep sense of peace. He had bought a ghost town for $100, but what he received in return was priceless. Trust, friendship, adventure, and a story that would live on long after the dust had settled.